You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim live in Green Bay. Sweet sweatshirt you got there, sir. We got Jacob in Wisconsin on the Minnesota border. Get the Pabst blue ribbon cap on this evening with a little camo touch. I like it, man. How we doing tonight, guys? How's everybody? Ben Holden already starting this thing off. All right, Ben, since you did it, buddy, let's just go ahead and play the new drop. All right, there you go. Get that out of the way. Tim, how was your day, bub?
Oh, great, man. Enjoyed the beautiful break in the weather. We got some sunshine up here in Wisco. I'm loving it. How about you?
Man, it's good. It's been good. Obviously, we're back on YouTube, gang. We'll see how long it lasts, but we're going to try to play it a little bit safe. So if we ever do get to the point on the show where we want to show something that might may or may not trigger a copyright, obviously we will just say, hey, guys, the show is going to continue on X, on Rumble, that type of thing. So that's right. Coach Lynn says, we back. That's right, sir. Good to see you in here. So we got everybody filing in. I know I got a ton of messages from folks asking, hey, why ain't you been going live on you? Why ain't you been going live? We've been going live every single evening. So I know there's people tuning in right now on YouTube thinking this is the first show that we've done in 2 weeks. That's not the case. You can always get it in podcast form. Just search Packernet Podcast. And then also we are on X. We are on Rumble as well. Rumble. So yeah, make sure you guys and gals go follow all those channels. You'll never miss our content. So with that being said, we had some big news break today, guys. Obviously, with the announcement that I don't think it really caught anybody by surprise, but I was kind of holding off on whether or not I would kind of lean into, hey, Ed Policy is going to be the new, CEO, essentially the acting owner, if you will, when Mark Murphy steps down there because of age. But again, I don't think it catches anybody by surprise, but you never know, man. Last time, I can't remember the gentleman that was lined up to actually take over as, for Bob Harlan in that spot. And then he had a pretty serious illness pop up, and that's why they ended up going with Mark Murphy last second. But before we get into Ed Policy and who the heck he is and all that good stuff, so let's just get right into it here. The headlines today, obviously, Tom Pelissero had tweeted out. Let's go ahead and change this around here. He put, the Packers have now announced the selection of Ed Policy, with Mark Murphy saying, in part, quote, Ed has been a tremendous asset to the organization during his 12 years here and has been greatly instrumental in our success. His work on Titletown has been particularly impactful. He is highly respected both in the building and within the NFL. I've enjoyed working with him, and I'm confident he will be an excellent steward of the organization. And of course, he had quote tweeted himself earlier where Tom Pelissero had put, the Packers board of directors voted unanimously this morning to approve Ed Policy as the franchise's new president and CEO per sources, a move that will make Policy the de facto owner of the NFL's only community-owned franchise starting in July of 2025. So first things first, tip your cap to our boy Mark Murphy and the fact that his final year, he gets to see the draft finally land in Green Bay. I know all three of us, along with Emilio and several other people here from the network, are going to be boots on the ground for that event. But Ed Policy, like I said, we're going to do a deep dive, but let's just get initial reactions here. Tim, what do you think about Mr. Ed Policy taking over here for Mark Murphy, man?
Yeah, I mean, I won't pat myself on the back like everyone else is doing, publicly, but that was my initial reaction and thoughts, when we first got the news a couple years back, that, mandatory retirement at 70, who's going to replace Mark Murphy. Ed Policy was the first name that I thought of. I think a lot of us thought of that as well. So it's not super shocking. I feel great about this. I feel like, he's going to continue to be a steward of the Green Bay Packers, and we're going to take this organization forward, and he's going to continue the legacy. I'm extremely happy about this. And, the draft coming next year is great. Mark Murphy is going to get to, go out and retire, seeing, all of this hard work that he's done with, Titletown District and everything it took just to get the draft to come to Green Bay. It's going to be a nice little farewell send off for Mr. Murphy. And I think the best part about it is he's going to hoist a Lombardi before that. So let's send Mark Murphy into retirement by bringing Vince Lombardi home this year. Go Pack, go.
Absolutely. Jacob?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know much about him. I trust Tim's opinion, though. If that's anything, to it's worth trusting there. But I will say, like Tim talks about, the Murphy deserves to go out with a bang, and just to see the night and day difference of, like, we always had like the Packers organization, but man, it really hit home for me when I hadn't been to Lambeau for like 4 or 5 years when I lived in Nashville. And when I went and saw it again, I was like, holy crap. Like they expanded that thing. It looks more like an amusement park or like a destination now versus just, it used to be just a kind of just a little shining beacon in the middle of nowhere. And now it's like, whoa, this looks again like a theme park or like an amphitheater. It's just really, really cool what they did with the whole area. So
yeah, absolutely, man. I know the first time I went to Lambeau Field, I didn't get to see the old Lambeau Field. I went in 2003, so the atrium was brand spanking new.
Oh, you missed the Green Monster? You didn't get to go to the Green Monster?
I did, man. I see the pictures. I've got models of it here in the studio. It looks so. And again, I grew up watching, obviously, the 1990s Green Bay Packers dominating in that old building, same building, but the old, obviously the old version of. I've actually got a piece of the metal that I bought on eBay.
Nice.
And they tore down the old, facade or whatever, and started building everything around it. I've got a piece of that metal, and it's obviously got the authenticity and all that good stuff. So really cool piece of memorabilia there. But yeah, so I went up in 2003, seen the atrium, and then we went several times. And then when they started building Titletown and everything, we were going to go up one year, and I told Mandy, I was like, hey, let's hold off for a year because they're saying that this project's going to be complete. They're going to have the new stands built, all that stuff. Let's hold off. So I held off like 2 or 3 years just to really take all that in. And when I went back up, Jacob, it was the same thing. It was like, whoo, this is awesome, man. This is absolutely awesome. So excellent job. I'm over at Titletown going, yeah, I remember Kmart used to be over here. This is where I come over and get my pregame.
Wait, remember when we went to the Rams game and we had like, I don't want to brag, but we had nice passes. We could go up to the top level and we looked over like kind of the cityscape and
passes.
It was unreal though. Like when we looked around, it was like such a different, like you could see almost like, it wasn't a skyline really, it's Green Bay, but it was like it was incredible to see the surrounding stuff that was built up. And then, it was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Justin from PFP couldn't get up to where we were at the top level. Just saying.
He could not. He was stuck down there with the civilians, wasn't he? Speaking of civilians, look at this guy right here. What's up, Emilio?
Not really a civilian.
Oh, man.
What's happening?
Emilio, we got a special request here for you, sir. All right, there you go. That's for you, sir. Welcome to the show. Better late than never, my man. All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's look at the comments real quick. We got a bunch of people in here. Obviously, good morning, Emilio says to over there. Oh man, that made me think of the old Dave Chappelle skit. I won't. It's not politically correct, so we're not allowed to say it on here. But you guys go back and watch. It's a little spinoff of Good Morning America, just a joke he made on his old show, which was absolutely hilarious. I think Emilio knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, 2-0 for this says, it's so important to keep a position like that within the building. Ed has been bred into the Packers organization and knows how it runs. And again, the reason we mentioned everything about Titletown, he is the main person that was involved with Titletown, right? So very, very important to mention that. Blake in the chat says, word on the street is that Jason Wright from Washington was a finalist. I don't think anyone was going to beat out Ed Policy, but man, we dodged a bullet not hiring that clown. Anybody from the Washington organization, I completely agree.
That was probably a formality, right? They probably just had to bring some interviews in,
Absolutely. I think so too, Tim. I really do. 2 for this says, even bigger news than Ed Policy, the Bears still suck.
The Bears still suck.
There you go. So let's see here. What else was it? But here we go. Blake in the chat says Ed Policy did an interview for the Legacy documentary. Might be cool to put those up again and watch the clips. That's a great idea. We won't do it on YouTube, but yes, sir, that would be great. M. Smitty, see, that's the thing that's going to get us in trouble. Somebody's going to go, oh man, we should check this out, and I'm going to be like, yeah. And then halfway through like that, now I'm going to go, oh crap.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I guess we're not allowed to do that. So I think that's legal. I don't know if anybody's got a copyright on that, but we'll find out. M. Smitty says Ed Policy's dad, Carmen, was a part of the 49ers dynasty in the 80s and 90s. That's 100% correct. So let's go ahead and pop this up here real quick. Let me drop this image down. So this is the bio, essentially, for Ed Policy. And kind of his career, a little bit of background on him. It's Edward Regis Policy. We won't talk about everything, but it says he's an American football executive and the current chief operating officer and general counsel for the Green Bay Packers. Previously, Policy was the commissioner of the Arena Football League. All right, so he was born in Youngstown, Ohio. Look at this right here, boys. This gets me excited.
I was just going to say.
Tim, we got us another Notre Dame link when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. So
as it should be.
He actually graduated from Notre Dame University.
You know what? That sounds a little bit like a conspiracy. It's all connected, man.
Could be. It could
Notre
be.
Dame, Green Bay.
I think Clayton actually went into Wiki real quick beforehand and just updated.
Just edited it.
No.
We got to watch that Bill Belichick video, man. We don't know. That might be a copyright.
Oh, man.
Hey, real quick, what do they talk about?
Who?
Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend. What do they talk about?
They talk about everything, man.
They talk about football, Jacob. That's what we're here to talk about is football.
They talk about cover 2 versus single high,
They talk about old, outdated defenses is what they talk
Jacob,
about.
There's a lot of options. You could walk right into this one. We can talk about the defensive line and the middle linebacker that can do really good things and things like that. But
he's a gap destroyer.
That's what I was wondering.
All right. Well,
see, there it is. This is why
baby.
we can't have nice things right here, bro. You two. Get you two in here. It's just
There it is.
2-0 for this says she explains TikTok to him. Tell me about that Twitter thing again. So anyway, back to Ed Policy, Jacob, please, sir. Could you be mature for 2 minutes?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
So University of Notre Dame with a business administration, Bachelor of Business Administration, and then he went on to Stanford and got a law degree, it looks like, some sort of a law degree there. So early life and education, Youngstown, Ohio. He was born to San Francisco 49ers and Cleveland Browns executive Carmen Policy. So another tie where you've got people that helped form the San Francisco 49ers organization ended up coming to Green Bay. You've seen it with the West Coast offense. You've seen it with the Mike Holmgren coming over from the Bill Walsh tree. You've seen it with our boy, Ron Wolf had ties to basically, if I remember correctly, Bill Walsh had a brief stint with some coaches that were tied to Al Davis. Obviously, Al Davis and Ron Wolf had ties together. So you kind of see how all this ties in together over the years. I think that's pretty cool that his dad helped run the 49ers. It says, let's move on down here. Early in career, Policy worked for the law firm Heller Ehrman in San Francisco and then the Cleveland-based Thompson Hine LLP, where he worked on sports facility construction. Arena Football League background. Policy began working for the Arena Football League in 2001, eventually briefly becoming commissioner of the league when he took over on an interim basis for Commissioner C. David Baker, who stepped down 2 days later before the 2008 Arena Bowl. Because the league subsequently shut down for the 2009 season, with the initial corporate organization filing for bankruptcy, the only actual AFL game contested during Policy's tenure as commissioner was the 2008 Arena Bowl, which was a bowl. It looks like 22 there. National Football League, beginning in 2009, Policy worked as a consultant for the National Football League, but left prior to the 2011 NFL lockout. And then, of course, in 2012, the Green Bay Packers hired Policy to serve as vice president and general counsel. He was promoted to chief operating officer and general counsel in January of 2018. The Packers said in a statement that Policy would, quote, take on a greater role in overseeing the business operations of the organization. Since being named COO, Policy has overseen the development of Packers' Titletown district. So it goes on to talk a little bit more about him. Obviously, he's married. This is pretty cool. He married Christina Less, daughter of U.S. Navy Vice Admiral Anthony A. Less. So my man, listen, if you could sit at the dinner table dating the daughter of a Vice Admiral of the Navy, I think you got some pretty thick skin there, boys. So anything else you guys want to add to Ed Policy here? I think it was important to just kind of do a little deep dive and give people a little bit better understanding of who he is. And I'm with you, Tim. There was many people in the comments of that tweet that were like, who is he? I've never heard of him. I'm going, man, we've been talking about him since like 2012.
Yeah, he's 13th year with the organization this year. So, yeah, it's been around for a little bit. But then again, everybody fans how they fan, right? Not everyone knows everybody in the front office and stuff like that. So it's totally cool. I think one of the neatest things that we discovered there was early in his legal career there, working in sports facility construction law, right? So it may explain why Titletown turned out so beautiful, because it certainly wasn't his first rodeo developing something of that scale. Most of these entertainment districts near a lot of the football stadiums, you don't get a full-size 100-yard NFL spec field to play on like we have here. That's something that I've always thought was really cool about the Titletown development, is the full-size playing field out there for families to enjoy, and people like me to go out and try and kick field goals after 30 years of not kicking a football and making an idiot out of myself, things like that.
Pulling a butt cheek, right?
Yeah, pull your hip flexor, whatever, So, but no, I think it's really interesting to see that. I did not know that was part of his background. I knew he had a legal background for sure, but did not know he worked in sports facility.
Pretty cool.
Construction. So
I think it's cool, like Tim said, just because of the fact that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of nepotism type stuff. It seemed like he was actually intrigued and motivated by his family's success in the game, that he wanted to just be around it. And I think that kind of shows, because like Tim said, he has like anything he can do. If I know myself, if I could serve food, or run a restaurant that's in Green Bay, I would do it. I just don't have the necessarily means to do it. Like, so with him, it's like, I like construction. I like sports. I'll go into construction sports. And then he was shown that he was willing to come up through the ranks of going through the Arena Football League, which I think is kind of cool too. Little fun fact stat there, that he actually was only kind of steering the ship for one actual game, but and then he had to deal with the lockout. So it seems like he's dealt with a lot of weird adversity situations. Like one of them, when the AFL went bankrupt, he had to be around for the lockout. He's had to pivot multiple times in his career, and he seems like he always comes back to some sort of football, which is cool. Because with the name Ed Policy, the guy should have been selling insurance like nobody.
Oh, definitely.
With that blazer, come on, man. Jake from State Farm.
I'm excited for the age there, Jacob. Dude's 53. Yeah. I know you like to, shoot for the younger players and everything, but this is a younger, president here. I like that we could have him for 15 plus years, depending on how it goes. He's itching to get a Super Bowl, right? Or we'll call it a Lombardi, just in case. I don't want to make anybody mad, so we'll say Lombardi. Make sure we cover us against the NFL there, and we'll get one of those. But he hasn't had one yet. He wasn't there for 2010, right? So the dude's ready, man, and it's exciting that he's been there for all this. He knows that it's what it's built, and I'm excited.
Bro, really?
Yeah, that bro really was for Jacob putting it on the screen, by the way, wasn't it, Tim? All right, so here was a statement from Ed Policy, and I really like what he said here. He said, "This is an absolute best job in sports. We are the stewards of the most iconic and unique organization in all of professional sports. I'm excited to continue to work with so many talented teammates who have ensured the Packers' consistent success on and off the field. We are the people's team, and I love being a part of it. We will continue our relentless focus on building a winning culture that transcends the playing field. The Lombardi Trophy will always be our North Star, and ensuring a positive impact on our community will continue to be paramount in our decision making. We have the greatest fans in sports, and will never take their commitment to the Packers for granted. 12 years ago, my wife, Christy, and I moved to Green Bay from New York City with our 2 sons. We embraced this community, and it embraced us back even stronger. We love raising our family here. This is home. So, love it, man. Said everything. There you go. That's kind of like when you're married. I always tell people, somebody asks me for marital advice, build credit up. Build credit up. Not that they're going to spend money. Believe me, they're going to. But build credit up in a sense of do enough good where when you screw up, because it's going to happen, they're going to go, yeah, he does a lot more better than bad. This right here is how you get ahead of the game, boys. This is marital advice. Take this little quote here, and I'm telling you, man, get ahead of the curve.
This is Clayton right after we're done here. He's walking straight down to that garbage can and just dragging it right to the curb. Doesn't even say a word to Mandy. Gets it done before she asks.
Not a thing, man. I'll walk right down there and I'll go, I got this. Don't worry about it. I'll put my cape on. You know what I'm saying? Walk down there like the superhero that I am.
And Mandy's looking out the window and she says,
yeah, he not only rambled, but he rumbled and stumbled.
I was just, oh man, I didn't know what drop was going to
I was a little worried too, Jacob. I was like, oh no,
don't do it.
If you hit that drop, Tim,
don't do it.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
You guys are going to get that group text from me later going, I'm not allowed to play on the podcast.
Mandy says, I can't hang out with y'all no more.
Exactly.
I love how that's where your mind went. You know, you were totally blindsided by the John Madden drop. I love it.
Right. I love it too. All right, so since we're talking about Hawk Tua, look, let's check this out real quick. ML Football tweeted this out. The Hawk Tua parlay. All right. Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta Hawks NBA championship in 2024-2025, right, is a plus 2,000 bet. And you couple that with Tua Tagovailoa winning the MVP, which is plus 2,500. That's a two-leg parlay, what they're referring to as the Hawk Tua parlay. $10 wager wins you $26,250. Bro, not a bad little gig. That's there. This might be a good time to go ahead and say, if you are going to place that bet, go over to BetUS, the official sports book of Packer Fan Total Access. All right, you guys can actually find the link in the YouTube description here on the video, the YouTube video description, and you can use that link and go ahead and register for free as a customer with BetUS. And because you use that link, it lets them know that we sent you to them, all right, and puts us in better standing with BetUS. Again, that's BetUS, the official sports book of Packer Fan Total Access. Look at them getting in on the Hawk 2 action. I like it, man. So, all right. With that being, by the way, I don't know if you guys watched Wildy and Tausch earlier today, but Mark Tauscher actually made a Hawk 2 reference, and I went, man, I love that dude. Look at Tauscher trying to stay up with the times. So, all right, check this out. This came in. This came in from Pro Football Talk earlier today. I want to get your all's take on it. It says, all complaints are welcome and expected. Anytime you tweet anything, you could say, man, this sky's really blue today. Expect complaints. All right. That's just the way Twitter works. But the PFT, Pro Football Talk Power Rankings, this is the 2024 pre-camp edition. All right. Number 1, Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. By the way, we were 3 points away from – we just lost by, 3 points to them, correct? So, in the playoffs. If we beat them, who knows? We might be looked at as the number 2 team in the league, which is absolutely wild to think about. Number 3, the Detroit Lions. Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles. And then in the number 6 spot, the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm not saying that it should have caught me off guard, and I'm probably going to get roasted for this, but when I seen him in the 6th spot, I went, this is Mike Florio's crew over here. Mr. Minnesota Vikings absolutely hates the Green Bay Packers. When I seen the Packers in the 6th spot, I went, man, I kind of like that. That's pretty sweet. What do you guys think about it? I'll start with you this time, Emilio. What do you think about the Packers? Do you agree with it, disagree with it? How do you feel about that on the surface here, Packers being number 6 in the PFT power rankings?
I mean, I think that's right where we should be. We're young and climbing, young and ascending. I think that when we looked at the quarterback one, where Jordan Love was down a little bit further, kind of around all these quarterbacks basically. But I think, it's maybe they kind of look past not always putting it on Jordan Love's shoulders and actually take a true meaning of, dude, this defense has a lot of talent on there. This offense is climbing. They can't pick a receiver. And we've got 2 tight ends, brand new backfield. What else? Well, how many checks can you hit the box on, right? So I think it's a good spot for them. They got to show up and prove it. They're going to be young. They need to do it, but there's not a lot of NFC competition once you get out of the Packers, Eagles, Lions, and Niners. Really.
Yeah, definitely. Jacob, what do you think, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are focusing on the top half of this list, which is to be expected. Obviously, I don't argue with where the Packers are. I would say that I don't think the Eagles, I shouldn't say that. The Eagles have a great team on paper, but they've absolutely fell apart. But when you look at that back half, I feel like the Cardinals are getting some hate a little bit too much. And so same with the Commanders, because they've got young talent there that I feel like they are probably going to surprise a few people there. I don't understand the Bears at 17.
Thank you.
Feel like that they have any business being there. They need to be back. Swap out the Cardinals and the Bears. That makes more sense. You got yourself Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., a number of other crazy draft picks, including our own brother, I should say, Max Melton, and with the addition to a number of other really great picks. So I don't know. That's the only thing I'd really pick apart at it. But to be in the same air as the Eagles, Packers, Bills, Bengals, the Bucks are another one that that's been a sneaky good team ever since Tom Brady was there with what's his name, Arians, Bruce, right? Yeah. And I think he's still a part of the team, just kind of floating around doing this and that. But they sneakily, Baker Mayfield, another guy that's resurged his career kind of quietly and kind of turned it around.
Definitely. Tim, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, I'm with Jacob on this one. I think this list is pretty accurate, in my opinion. The only issues I have are with other teams, not us. I think the Packers at 6 is pretty reasonable. And I think week 1 in Brazil may prove that we are, in fact, the better team when it comes to head-to-head matchup against Philly. So maybe we'll jump up a power ranking spot right out of the gate. But, yeah, the Bears in the top 20 blows my mind. They haven't proven anything yet. Now, granted, they got some weapons. They made a few moves. We know about that killer draft where they took a quarterback and a punter. So, it's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do this year. But, yeah, I think what Jacob said is true. There's some of those teams there towards the bottom rungs that I think probably could have been ranked a little higher than they were, and some teams that are up higher that probably could have been ranked a little lower. But I think it's spot on. I think the Packers are a top 10 team in the NFL for sure, and that's before we've played a down of football. I truly believe it. Of course, the game is not played on paper or on charts or power rankings. It's played on a field, so we'll see how it goes this year. But I think this is the year for us, man. And being respected coming into this season is huge because you notice how the narrative is completely different this year.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the preseason narrative last year about how horrible we were going to be. There's no way this team makes the playoffs. Jordan not that guy. Blah, 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 blah.
Last in the division. Oh, Bears are going to run the North.
Blah, blah, blah.
Justin Fields MVP.
Oh,
you know what all that
one.
sounds like to me? It sounds like a bunch of
pressure.
Yeah. And when you get that, this is what you got to do, boys. You just got to get it out of your life. All right. Let's check this out. Let's go to the chat real quick. Everybody's kind of voicing their opinion. Smitty says, agree with you, Jake. The Bears at 17 is hilarious. Completely agree. Obviously, M. Smitty goes on to say, Hawk Tua, you're not in the political divide. Blake in the chat says, week 1 against the Eagles. I think you meant Eagles. I kind of like that. Eagles. We'll call them the Eagles. It's going to be a slugfest. I agree. There's so many people that are down on the Eagles, and I know they were playing bad at the end of the year last year. I think the Eagles are still a power right now. Listen, they lost arguably their best player in Jason Kelsey at center, and that's going to be felt. There's no doubt about it. But I think they're a solid team, man.
They real quick, they also went on a podcast today. ESPN reported it on NFL Live or whatever that Jalen Hurts said that they've switched 95% of the offensive playbook is different going into this year. So that could be a massive deal.
And now they've got Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator. So you can't basically here's what happens. We've been talking about defensive fronts and self-scouting and 4-game saturations, all those things that coaches kind of use to approach a new team that they're going to be playing. You can't hardly look at the Eagles tape now. You go last year and you look at their tape, their offense is different. Their defense is completely revamped and different. So what you're probably going to be doing is going to the Miami Dolphins tape a little bit where Vic Fangio was last year and go, okay, they like to do this. All right. Who's some of their defensive assistants? Did they completely clean house in the defensive department? It just makes it very difficult for the Packers or any team for that matter. And again, each team's got a full year to prepare. Think about it this way. With the Eagles, we don't know what they're going to do on offense. We don't know what they're going to do on defense. They've got a pretty good idea of what we're going to do because everything is pretty much stayed the same on offense. Other than Jeff Hafley coming in on defense, you get that kind of same effect there. So kind of a push on defense. Offense, they might have the upper hand as far as scouting out what our offense may or may not do. But
I will say to that point, though, Clayton, I feel like Coach LaFleur has done a good job the last 2 years of not becoming too predictable. And, he kind of mixes his sets up. We run out of passing sets. We pass out of run sets a lot of times. Just when you think you got it figured out, he's on the other side of the call sheet and he's mixing it up. So I think that'll come into play in week 1 for sure. But I agree, there's probably some familiarity there. Anytime you've got a play caller like LaFleur, you kind of know what he's bringing to the table. It's no secret at this point.
Yeah, if you guys remember too, week 1 against the Bears last year, the big topic that everybody was talking about is all the different run looks that LaFleur showed.
Yep.
Almost to a fault, because by week 2 you were still trying to do that. And it's like, okay, you guys remember me going, we need to dummy this down. These guys aren't ready for all this,
Yep.
Luckily we played the Bears week 1 and they're just, absolute cheeks.
I think this might be
you okay, Emilio?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric is funny.
Eric's out of control.
Eric's out of control. No, but I think Bates was onto something there. He said lots of pressure this year on Sirianni and Hurts if things don't start good, may get a little ugly. I mean, yeah, they have brand new stuff, which means we don't have tape on them. That also means they don't have any chemistry. They don't have any timing. They don't have any of that in actual game. Actual game times. They'll have a little bit of run in preseason. We'll be able to take a peek at that, but. Dude, the first game, you got a lot of jitters. You got a lot of timing that's going to be off. You're going to make stupid mistakes. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of both. But, I think Matt just needs to make sure this team shows up ready to play. It's going to be a travel. We all know that, but they really need to actually be ready to play. And if we can set the Eagles back to begin with, that'll be a great start to the year.
Great start, man. First game in Brazil. Absolutely awesome. Ron Sample says he thinks it's a reasonable ranking. All right. Rock Cod says the Cowboys are down at number 16. That can't be they can't be too happy about that. There was also some reports coming out. I think Dove Kleiman, however you say his name, the super aggregate on Twitter when it comes to NFL news, had mentioned that there was rumors swirling that McCarthy is fed up with Jerry Jones. So we'll see how that shakes out this year too, right? Angus McHaggis says Tampa at 9 is a bit of a surprise. Dallas at 16 is LOL. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Boz, Jets at 25 surprises me. Yeah, because if Aaron is healthy, you would think they're seeing them a little bit better, right? And if you guys go back and watch, as I was watching the tape of the Jets defense from last year, I was trying to get a little bit of a grab on some of the defensive fronts they showed against nickel, against heavy sets, all that. They absolutely demolished the Patriots. Now, the Patriots were not a good team, don't get me wrong, but they scored a significant amount of points there in that last game of the season against the Patriots defense, which is a pretty good defense, top 10 defense, easy. So, and that precious DVOA that people talk about. Nichols says, I would expect the Texans to be higher. Where are the Texans at? Where they come in at?
10th.
10th. Yeah. If honestly, I know I'm going to get hate for this. If the Texans were in the 6th spot and we were in the 10th spot, I wouldn't be like, how dare them? I'd be like, you never, I see us as a top 10 team, but I see a lot of teams as top 10 teams, right? Obviously 10 teams as top 10 teams, but anything can happen once you crack into the top 10. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday. I really believe that. So Angus McHaggis says, yeah, Cardinals, I think better than 30. Good draft. I agree. To me, they seem like they had a good draft too. Of course, time will tell if that's the case. So, all right.
The Vikings are in a good spot.
The Vikings?
Yeah.
Let's see, in the 23 spot. I think so, yeah. I personally don't think they're competing for a playoff spot. But I don't think they're like one of the bottom 3 or bottom 5 teams in the league. How do you guys feel about the Vikings there at 23?
I listened to a podcast today, and they were talking about, they interviewed, is it maybe Cam Bynum or one of their secondary guys they brought in. Now he says, we expect a Super Bowl. And then he went on to say, I know everybody says that in the offseason, but we actually do think that we have the potential to actually make it to a Super Bowl, because if we look at every single positional group, we have a dog at that position or a playmaker. And arguably they could, but the biggest thing that's going to be the biggest hindrance to that team is in the biggest positional need, quarterback. You have a giant question mark at best. Everybody's just saying, hey, we're going to give the reins to Sam Darnold, and he's such a tried and true quarterback in the NFL. No, he's not, man. He's been lost from multiple teams. He was a really highly touted guy, highly drafted guy that showed potential, and I do think that people probably are underestimating him, and I think he could be a decent pocket, just kind of vanilla stick figure quarterback for him, but that's not what that offense, I don't think, is really going to make them explode. They've had that kind of quarterback. They've had that pocket passer and Kirk Cousins in years prior, but they still have Justin Jefferson. They obviously got Aaron Jones. They got Jordan Addison. Hawkinson's doesn't look like he's going to be online to come back for the beginning of the season, but they do have now. He's still not, not look like, they have no timeline on him still. And they obviously went out and signed our boy. I can't even remember his name anymore. Oh, it's so sad. I have his helmet signed right there.
Here, let me grab the helmet so I can remember his name.
Big Bobby Tanyan.
Big Bobby.
But on defense, they could have something there. They really could, and they usually do. So
they're too highly ranked. You ask me. You can ask me this question about the Vikings every year, and every year I'm going to put them at 32 on the list. So.
Exactly. Smitty says, Clayton, any team can beat any team on any given Sunday except for the Bears, who still suck. So there you go. There's that. All right, let's do this. Let's switch gears here real quick. And Jacob, you sent an article over to me from msn.com, and let's go ahead and hit on it real quick. And I think this is a pretty fascinating topic as well. Let me drop this down. All right, bang. So basically the title of the article, and I apologize for the ads. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not going to sign up. So
that would be fun, though. A multi-day on a safari. Come on.
Yeah. They're like, Clayton, just sign up. Clayton's like,
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Exactly correct, sir. So it says 5 Packers breakout candidates to watch this summer. Jacob, do you want to hit on this article at all before I list the top 5? I know you sent it over to me. Is there any thoughts that may or may not have triggered there before we dive into the list here?
I mean, I'll be honest. I sent you like 5 articles, so I can't remember exactly which one's which. I just know that I agreed with it, and I thought it was something that was worth talking about. So
Heck yeah. All
I
right.
feel like you should have made that statement with your Trump voice. It would have sounded much better.
Some would say, not me, but some.
There was a lot of articles.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
Hey, political season. Wash your hands, wash your butt. All right, that's all I can say. All right, so number 5 on this list of potential breakout players, Anders Carlson, kicker. Right. This is what the article says. Screw it. I'm feeling spicy today. After a less than disastrous rookie campaign that saw Carlson regress as the season went on. I think we would agree with that, right? He did seem to miss more kicks as the season went on. The Packers desperately need more from their kicker game in 2024. It's one thing to have struggling kicking game as a rebuilding team and a much bigger issue as a squad with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. Well, we're getting some feedback.
Some feedback there.
Emilio's shaking his head. I think
I don't hear it.
No, I have mine muted.
Ooh, Tim.
It sounds like
Tim.
It sounds like the phone's near it. Is what it sounds like. So
we're good.
Is that better?
Yep. There you go.
There you go. All right.
Sorry, a lot of people text me. I'm getting a lot of texts.
All right, Anders Carlson. I'm just going to go around the horn real quick. You tell me if you think they're going to break out or not. Tim, I'm going to save you for last because I think I know what your answer is, sir. Emilio, breakout or no breakout for Anders Carlson this year, man?
And I'll kick the bloody piss out of it.
All right, there you go. Well said. Jacob?
I think that he will. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And by breakout, I mean he'll be serviceable, and he'll miss like 1 or 2 kicks. And we'll
By breakout, I mean average.
We're gonna reel in the extra point misses, and the field goal makes are gonna increase just slightly, and I'm cool with it.
I agree.
Tim, tell these guys what's going to happen with Anders Carlson this year.
Anders makes the team. First of all, this competition is quotational competition right now. He'll be the kicker, and breakout season for sure. Well over 80%, like he was last year on his field goals. But no, I think he does. Breakout year, yes.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but wasn't he statistically better than Mason Crosby his first year?
In Mason's first year, yes. Yes, he was.
In kicks, yes.
In kicks, yep. Yeah. And I think the extra point thing, like Emilio said, he'll improve on that simply because of the fact I got this feeling that with, Josh Jacobs on the team, we got Mr. Quadzilla back there. We've got Emmanuel Wilson back there. We've got another young, talented running back named Marshawn Lloyd on this team. I think we go for 2 a few times this year, guys, after Cheddars. I think it's going to happen. So the fact that he's going to have to, kick less point afters is going to be, that's going to help him with his average for sure. But no, I think he tightens it up and breakout year for him for sure this year.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's peachy.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Yeah, I believe that too, that I don't know why we wouldn't go for 2 more often, to be honest with you. And again, the big discrepancy there was he had a higher field goal make percentage than Mason Crosby's rookie year, okay? But he missed more extra points. But you got to take into consideration that Mason Crosby was kicking from, like they were snapping it from the 2. Obviously, the extra points gotten pushed way back since then. So, yeah, there you go. United Bates said it. He had better field goal percentage than Crosby in his first 4 years.
Right. And then he said, whoops.
Yeah, Crosby didn't break 80% until year 5. So we got to kind of slow the roll because he has an extremely talented leg, got a boom leg, no doubt about it. So,
yep.
All right, number 4 on this list, boys, Carl Brooks. The defensive side of the football will be intriguing to watch this season. Head coach Matt LaFleur changes defensive coordinators more frequently than the average person cycles through socks. Dang, shot there. And he's obviously Mike Florio took a job up with MSN on the side. He got to pay the bills. Says he's on his third and sixth seasons at the helm. New coordinator Jeff Hafley promises to bring the intensity and aggression LaFleur and his players have been searching for. Only time will tell if that's for real this time.
That's not fair, though. Technically speaking, Mike Pettin was not Matt LaFleur's dude.
Yeah.
That was a Mike McCarthy holdover, right? So
Correct.
This would be his, I guess, whatever, technicality.
He goes on to say Brooks was drafted in the 6th round last year after Green Bay selected another defensive lineman, Kobe Wooden, in the 4th. However, he quickly surpassed Wooden during the preseason and only built momentum as the season continued. He's a bit slight for a defensive lineman, but he makes up for it with his wiggle and quickness. He'll likely be paired alongside Kenny Clark or TJ Slayton to make up for his lack of size. He'll also get plenty of opportunities to get after the quarterback in passing situations. Expect a solid year from Carl Brooks. Around the horn, start with you this time, Emilio. Breakout or no breakout for Mr. Carl Brooks?
I mean, you saw the tape. The dude absolutely earholed that tackle just on a stunt, right? Let alone how many times he was in the backfield, pressuring the quarterback. He came from a small school, Bowling Green, and he wants to work. So the kid's ready to play football, and I like that. I like the pairing of, him with Kenny or, TJ, give him a little bit extra beef on the other side, but also there's not going to be a lot of downtime or, a lot of overuse time. They're going to be able to rotate these guys in. I can't wait for the hockey line changes. I really do think we're going to have 8 people on rotation. We're just going to have a starting 4 in there, our first down or second down 4, and then our pass rush 4, whatever. I think that's going to be awesome to keep that energy up.
Definitely. Blake says, Carl, my man, any hidden gem player who played in the MAC in college is twice as easy to root for. Amen to that. Smaller schools are a lot of fun to root for. Jacob, what do you think Carl Brooks break out here this year?
I think, yeah, I do. Like Emilio said, there's just I think he's going to be rotated in anywhere that they can because we watched him on tape. He is physically, the only thing I disagree with this is I don't think there's a problem with his size. I think it's more where do you plug him in and where do you play him? I mean, if I don't know, I think that he is shown that he's better than Wooden. I think he's in spurts, maybe an all around better player than Wyatt. I think Wyatt's a better pass rusher for sure, but you pair a grouping of any 4 of these guys and you're like, oh, I could see that being kind of fun. And then we haven't talked about this dynamic of how these defensive linemen are going to be able to kind of have less to worry about with the 4-3 linebackers having a lot more around responsibility and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be fun to see them definitely take on a new role.
Definitely. We got 62 watching live on Rumble. Appreciate y'all rumbling with us this evening. Go ahead and hit that like button for us. Feel free to share it as well. Go ahead and sub to the channel. We appreciate y'all hanging out. We got how many on YouTube? 57 on YouTube and 108 on Twitter. So we got a huge crowd in here this evening. Really appreciate everybody finding us and making us a part of your evening. Tim, what do you think about Carl Brooks, man? I mean, you guys know how I feel about it. I like what Ron said here too. Brooks may surpass Wyatt. I honestly believe that Brooks is a more well-rounded defensive lineman than Wyatt, but Wyatt is a better pass rusher.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, we're talking about pairing him with Kenny. I kind of feel like Brooks and Wyatt are the future of this defensive line. If Kenny's not willing to take a lesser contract than maybe the market value suggests, I think you might be looking at Brooks and Wyatt in the future too.
Yeah, I agree. And that may be the case even if we do get a deal done with Kenny. Long term. But I'm with Jacob. I agree. I think Carl Brooks does have a breakout year because, that's been kind of a concern is, where do we utilize this talent? And it's man, I'm excited to see him in this 4-3. I really am. This is going to be a different look. And Devontae Wyatt too, another explosive pass rusher. This could be a deadly combination. And we've got a lot of those on this defense. We could talk about Rashawn and, LVN. We can talk about, Kenny Clark and, Preston Smith. There's a lot of, we've got Edrin Cooper and Quay Walker. We've got Xavier McKinney, Javon Bullard. We've got, the tandems are everywhere on this defense. And it's going to be cool in a new scheme. But yeah, to answer the question, Carl Brooks, yes, breakout year for sure. A guy that we've been keeping our eye on pretty heavily here for the last couple of years. So be nice to see him make that step here in his career.
So I love it when Jacob kills his camera and it sounds like he's wrestling a bobcat over there. You guys notice that? Oh, absolutely.
You hear that?
Angus McHaggis says on passing downs, Wyatt Brooks on the inside could be good. I agree. A lot of quickness there. Dylan in the chat. Good to see you, Dylan. Appreciate you swinging through. He says Mike Wall really likes Brooks too. Randy Cleavers, Brooks will be a breakout player. Ben Holden, Brooks going to play D in or D tackle? That's a great question. Now, listen, this is just speculation on my part. When I seen pictures of Devontae Wyatt when they first reported for the first wave of OTAs, he looked thinner. So I'm kind of looking at Wyatt like, are they going to use him as a defensive end in this 4-3? If that's the case, I think Carl Brooks will probably be more of a defensive tackle. Carl Brooks played the run, if I remember correctly, much better than both Wyatt and, believe it or not, Kenny Clark. That would suggest you want him playing that 1 to 3 tech, right? So if you're playing the over front, have him in the 1 tech. If you're playing an under front, have him in the 3 tech. Because I feel like from the offense's perspective, it seemed like the position he played the majority of the time was that left defensive tackle from the offense's perspective, from the Madden cam, as we say. All right. So yeah, let's see here. Pressure with 4 is the key. Yep. Amen. You got to follow that blueprint that Robert Saleh has kind of created out there with the New York Jets. If you can get pressure with 4, like Greg Cosell was saying the other day, pressure with 4 means you got 7 on the backside in coverage. You're set up for success there. For sure.
And it also means when you dial up a nickel blitz or something on occasion, it's even harder for those O-lines to account for it because you've been getting home with 4 so often that all of a sudden you send a 5th. It can be real interesting. So I agree totally.
Yeah. And Adam in the chat says some of these guys seem like they can move around. Hey, they really do. They seem very versatile in that regard. And that's how the Packers operate, man. Like these safeties they took, they're going to be trying these guys as Spurs safeties. They're going to be trying them as deep, what we call post safety. They're going to be trying them in the slot. Same thing with the defensive linemen and how they drafted them. So, yeah, I think that's something that's always been a part of the way they draft is they look for versatility because you never know, man. You do know. I say you never know. You do know. Injuries are going to happen. It's going to happen. And you got to be able to plug and play people in multiple spots.
Think about it. I mean, Rashawn Gary played inside coming from Michigan. And could you imagine if we just had all these athletes that could play D-end or DT? The only difference is weight. If you're 290, if you're 265 and you don't get moved by a guard and a center, dude, play nose guard. That's fine. I don't care. As if we had 4 athletes that were 270, 260, whatever, 290, and they all could move, fine, play. It doesn't matter. NASCAR, everybody stand up, whatever you want to do. Just stop them.
It's kind of like the O-line, right? We want the best 5 on the field.
Yeah.
It's like D-line, you just the best 4 we can put out there. And
yeah, and then catch a breather and then send out our other backup best 4.
Exactly.
That's the thing, man. You, as an offensive lineman, they never come off the field unless there's an injury, right?
Right.
So they're going out there, and not only are these pass rushers setting them up for pass rush moves and counter moves and all that stuff, but these offensive linemen are getting beat down. Then you rotate the 1 or 2 of those defensive linemen off the field, and you get fresh legs in, fresh pecs, no pun intended. You know what I'm saying? Out there ready to shove some bodies around. That offensive lineman's looking up and going, man, that guy ain't even sweating yet. All right, let's get set again. That matters, man.
With a different move, different setup, different combo. He only fights half the man. Maybe he is rushing, bull rush only. It's all that.
Maybe he's quicker off the ball than the last guy. Maybe he'll smack you in the mouth. Like everybody plays different for sure. Ron Sample says, overall, this team looks like they really put in the off-season work. Completely agree, man. So many comments. I'm trying to get to them all, but I really appreciate y'all, man. We're going to move along in this article so we can get this thing wrapped up. Lucas Van Ness, number 3. It says Van Ness was a first-round pick last year, but was buried in the depth chart behind Gary, Preston Smith, and Kingsley Enagbare. All 3 guys are back this year, but the Packers are expecting Van Ness to surpass them. Van Ness is an elite athlete with a tremendous blend of power and speed. We saw that in some flashes last year, and now it's time to begin to show it more consistently. Smith, who is Mr. Consistency, is on the wrong side of 30, and his best days are behind him. The Packers desperately need some more playmakers on that side, on this side of the ball, and hope their 2023 first rounder is ready to begin filling that role. I think I know how everybody feels here. We'll go around the horn anyway. For me, LVN, I'm expecting big things out of him. I'm expecting the snap count to go up. He stayed healthy last year. The thing I really liked about LVN, he got penalized for it once or twice, but even as a rookie, when he's seen guys pulling guys off piles, he was getting in there scrapping like, this ain't happening. he kind of feels like he's going to be. And now I'm not saying he's going to be this caliber of player. I pray to sweet baby Jesus he's a quarter of the player that J.J. Watt was. But he kind of feels like that J.J. Watt presence. Like, listen, you ain't going to bully us, dude. That boy is he country strong, if you know what I mean. So what do you guys think about LVN? Breakout or no breakout? Let's start with you, Tim.
Breakout for sure. Hand in the dirt in a 4-3. Let's go. I'm all for it. And then, also able to hold that contained too and chase down a quarterback in a pinch like we saw him do on tape last year a few times. He did kind of get lost in the depth chart in his rookie season, but one thing we did see was when he was out there, you saw those flashes pretty consistently throughout the season that that there's something there. And clearly Goody, another great draft pick, right? He knows where to find these guys. He knows who to bring into this team. The defense got a lot better over the last couple of seasons with these personnel changes. So I think LVN is poised for a breakout year, especially with more reps, like you said, Clayton. I fully expect him to, the snap count to probably effectively double this year, I would think, for him compared to last season, hopefully. So we'll see how it goes. But, yes, I think he's going to break out. Definitely.
All right, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. It sounds kind of – I hate just being – I want to be the devil's advocate, but I just can't with LVN. I mean, like Tim said, we saw the flashes. We saw the physical ability. We saw that the game wasn't too fast for him. It wasn't like he was undersized in any means whatsoever. We saw him chase down Justin Fields from behind and make tackles. We saw him do great pursuit angles. And again, that was in an offense or a defense that maybe didn't necessarily meet. I want to see where his hand is in the dirt. I do. And I do get flashes of J.J. Watt or just more of that kind of lunch pail type guy, definitely. But he also has the freakish abilities to kind of make some of those crazy standout plays. So I do think that he's going to be good.
New York.
I was just thinking that he really is. And the fact that, it seems like we've talked about Brooks, Rashawn, Preston a lot. I feel like we've been pretty quiet on LVN. Last year, we picked him first round, 13th pick or whatever, picked him early, and we haven't even worried about it because Carl Brooks that we picked up in the 6th round has just been tearing it up, and that's what we've been focusing on. So I think he needs to have it, right? If he doesn't, are we going to get disappointed? I don't know, but the fact that he has the body type, he's got the mentality for it, and if we're not seeing it, he's not going to play. Dude, we got too many athletes. If that's our first round pick and he's not showing up, I don't think they're going to put him out there. They'll rotate him like they did last year, but he's not going to get the burn. If Carl Brooks is doing it, he's going out there. If Enikbari is playing better, they're going to put him out there. So I think he's definitely got to show up. I do in the end think that he will have a breakout, but I think he definitely needs to for sure.
Got it. Smitty in the chat said LVN chasing down Fields was probably my favorite play of his last season. Completely agree. That was week 1 at Chicago, watching Justin Fields get flung like a rag doll across the turf. And when he rolled over, the look in his eye was like, who caught me from behind? Like, who was that? That's LVN. That's country strong. So, all right, number 2 on the list, speaking of country strong, lung darts, Schaefer lights, Bush
Tuck Norris.
Tucker Kraft tied in. All right, it says Kraft 31 receptions for 355 yards and 2 tutters, and Musgrave 34 receptions for 352 yards and 1 touchdown. Finished the season with nearly identical numbers. However, while Musgrave battled injuries down the stretch, Kraft was just finding his footing. He had multiple receptions in the Packers' last 10 games, including the playoffs, that included 4 of his last 6 games with at least 48 receiving yards. That's pretty wild. 4 of his last 6 games with at least 48 receiving yards. Kraft has more wiggle after the catch than Musgrave, who is more of a straight line speed tight end. That yak ability plays perfectly into the hands of what LaFleur wants to accomplish in the offense. Look for Kraft to continue to be heavily involved in the passing game next season. Now, obviously, you got the torn pec. We're hoping everything will be fine. I'm hoping by the beginning of training camp, worst case scenario, week 1, he's good to go. I think if anybody can handle coming back from an injury like that, it's Tucker Kraft. But let's start with you this time, Emilio. What do you think about Tucker Kraft? I mean, these are all pretty much booms, right? I don't think any of these guys – these are guys we've all talked about, right?
Right. That's it. I mean, Smitty's seen him. I'm sure he's probably watched Tucker tip a couple cows here and there just and working on that squat and press. But the dude Yeah, I think he's going to be Matt's new H-back. I think that he's going to have to be able to play that role that Matt trusts. You know, if we had DeGuara in there, but we didn't love it when DeGuara had the ball in his hands after he caught it on this running up the sideline. So I think that if he can get Tucker to, really handle that H-back, I think he's going to be good to go. And I think that it'll really help the offense, expand. We talked about A.J. Dillon going in there. Do we want to have him block every time? I don't think so. I think there could be a couple packages, full house, wishbone, whatever he wants to do. But I think he'll be our new H-back role moving forward, just so he's on the field more and still have Musgrave if we run that. But no, he's gonna have a breakout for sure.
Definitely. Jacob, anything you want to add there?
No, I think that's. I was in my head trying to figure out where does Tucker Kraft fit on that in the tight end spectrum of the inline, the kind of crazy athletic guy, whatever you want to say. He's more of, I think he's our most well-rounded. I watched him on certain plays where even just the other game we watched his seal blocks. He did some really great stuff down the seam. He has actually, like he talked about, good yak, and he's done the stuff where he tries to jump over defenders. I mean, to the point where it's like, dude, cover your boys, man. You got to be careful there.
Gotta watch the dankle, man. I'm telling you.
You gotta watch and I really do think that he could be our best tight end. And Emilio just said it. I guess it didn't click for me. We clearly wanted DeGuara to fill that kind of H-back tweener, versatile motion tight end role. I really do think Kraft could be that guy. It does suck though, because we always say you can't make the club in the tub. I don't think we have any reason to think he's not going to make the team, but the fact that he is not practicing right now along with Oladapo, I think it's going to be a really it's going to take him maybe a few weeks at best to get into the flow of things, unfortunately.
Tim?
Jacob stole my thunder. I was just going to say that about Tuck Norris. He is the Swiss Army knife of this offense, period, point blank. Multi-tool, multiple attributes. I don't know how we're defining breakout year, because one could argue, at the end of last year, I mean, he broke out last year in a pinch when we needed him the most. I call him Tuck Norris because that's what I think he is. He's the Chuck Norris of our offense. He can get it done. And, he's willing to do the dirty work too. So, him filling that H-back role is something that could realistically be a possibility. So I guess breakout season 2.0 as he comes back from this rehab on the torn pec. And, hopefully he didn't tear it smoking a lung dart or drinking a Busch latte. But, Tuck Norris will be back and he will be better than ever.
Right.
Emilio.
95 F-250. I mean, just on the side of it, it says truck. Like it's truck. It's truck.
Trucker Kraft.
Yeah.
Got the old school cigarette lighter. Got the old.
Oh yeah.
I guarantee you the cigarette, the ashtray is full in there too. It's got there's butts everywhere.
He only wears Stetson cologne.
I bet he tears the filters off those things too.
Oh yeah, you don't care.
A couple of black ices hanging in the windowsill.
Oh yeah,
there
got
you go.
The corner window tilted for the AC.
That'll learn you.
Blake in the chest says Tucker, Texas Ranger. There you go.
There.
All right, number one on their list of breakout players. Surprise, surprise, Mr. Dontavion Wicks. All right, it says let's read the whole thing. The biggest issue the Packers might have on offense this season is they're only allowed to play with one football. Jordan Love will be tasked with getting the ball to multiple tight ends, Kraft and Musgrave, a plethora, of wide receivers, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, and even a running back, Josh Jacobs. That's the other thing we're not even talking about. That's just wild. Despite that limitation, Wicks should be able to separate himself on the roster and from the defensive backs. See what they did there? Nice. He's a bit like Devontae Adams in that he lacks elite speed, but is quick enough to get open in a phone booth. That quickness should give him a nice base to get in and out of breaks and provide Love with a safety valve in high leverage situations. Again, had the highest passer rating when targeted on third downs was Dontavion Wicks. Wicks can also continue to improve his route running, something Adams became elite at during his time in Green Bay. The playbook for his style of receiver is right there at Lambeau, and he would be wise to repeat the steps to success taken by players wearing the green and gold before him. He's that spot play for me. When we talk about a spot concept, like like a spot route. Essentially, it's almost like a slant, but you'll sit kind of like that slurl. That's that guy that you want on a 3rd and 4. Let him run a 6-yard just spot route, sit down, catch it, take a beating, pick up 7 or 8 yards of yak, and move the freaking sticks, man. I'm so excited about Dontavian Wicks. Mandy asked me the other day, she's like, hey, I've seen a couple of bids on autographed Dontavian Wicks jerseys. You want one? I said, you better get them all. You better get every one of them. So what do you boys think?
For each of us, Mandy.
Yeah, come on, Mandy. It's a deal. You save money. If you
I am
buy
in
it all
bulk.
a
You
bundle.
save a little bit.
She's downstairs going, it just depends on if Clayton remembers to take the trash down or not.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Tim, what do you think about Tay Wicks, man? He's going to break out, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, another guy we could argue kind of broke out a little bit at times last season already. We were seeing it. And, Jacob called this one a mile away. He called him Don Wick, like John Wick here. He's the killer on this offense for sure. And arguably the most exciting receiver in our receiver core to watch play football. It's debatable. We've got a lot of talent in that receiver room, but Tay Wicks has this crazy ability to find soft spots in the zone and just get down there and get open and sit. And then we've got a quarterback in Jay Money who finds him every time and just lets that thing fly, humming that tater, as they say down in the South, right? So, Tay Wicks is poised for a breakout season. So is a lot of our receivers. But, Don Wick for sure, my pick for a breakout year.
Love it. Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, Don Wick, like you said, if you didn't know any better, you thought somebody broke into his apartment after his wife died and strangled his dog. And Don Wick was like, you know what? I'm going to come out next year and just start running some of the crispest, most crispy routes you're ever going to see in your life. Because honestly, not even because remember, one of the things that we talk about is coach speak and how you got to learn how to read in between the tea leaves and the lines. But there was like actual legitimate talk of when Dontavian Wicks came out and they're like, he might be one of the most precise route runners we've seen on the level of Devontae Adams. And that was coming from guys like LaFleur and other guys that were like, this guy is precise. And again, it talked about how he doesn't have maybe that top end speed. He doesn't have the Tyreek speed or the Hollywood Brown or, those kinds of guys. But like he has such a precision in his routes where he can get separation, like they said, in a phone booth with guys that he maybe is not as fast as, anywhere near as fast as, but the fact that he is so good at that route running ability that he can get that separation. And then obviously, like we talked about, when the ball's in his hands or even close, that dude is a finisher. Finish him.
There you go.
Absolutely. Add him to the list of elite route runners in this wide receiver room. Bo Melton is a route runner too.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, so is Romeo Dobbs. So you talk about precise route running. I mean, these guys learn from each other. They feed off each other. It's one of the advantages to having this big room of this young talent for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Emilio?
I don't even know what I can follow it up with. I think Tay Wicks has been a talking point for weeks now, dude. I'm excited to see when this kid actually gets out there and starts playing. Him, working all off season, like I said before, not having to worry about the draft. He's ready to roll. He, like Tim said, probably had a breakout before, and we can't pick a number one. So I think if he's got a down game, we can look to another receiver. If he doesn't actually break out, it's still fine. We still have 3, 4, 5 other backups. So the thing is, we put all this pressure on him to break out. He's our elite. He's our number one. That's awesome. If he tears it up, that's, dude, all the great, all the better for the Packers. But if not, if all else fails, if he doesn't tear it up, if he somehow takes a step back, we still have a plan to fall back on, which is ideal because, what's NFL stand for? Not for long. We hope that they keep it moving. And I want Tay Wicks to break out, man. I don't know.
Ron Sample says Chad Johnson's all about Reed becoming a legit star this year as well. We were talking about that offline, wasn't we, Tim?
Yeah.
Chad Johnson's fired up over Jaden Reed.
Ocho Cinco, man, that guy loves our entire wide receiver room. He was check the socials today, man. He was defending the Packers receiving core to the death today on social media. So shout out to Chad Johnson for and he's telling the truth too. If you look at his post, there's no lies detected when he's talking about Reed and Wicks and Bo Melton and Rome and Scoot. So shout out to Ocho Cinco for the random Packer endorsement. I like it. You know,
remember when wasn't it Devontae Adams? Wasn't it that brought tears to his eyes because the route running?
Yeah, shout out to Eli Berkowitz. He tweeted that today. He said, the last time Chad Johnson was this excited about a Packer receiver, it was Tay Adams.
Young Tay Wicks or young Tay Adams. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
There we go.
All right, there you go, guys. M. Smitty says we'll always come back to Cosell's comment on Wicks. Amen. Love Greg Cosell's take on that. Eric, we're not going to put that on the screen. However, we appreciate the creativity. And Randy Cleaver says our receiver room is stacked, man. Listen, another year of growth, another year, another training camp they're going to be coming into. Tay Wicks, Jaden Reed working out together in the offseason, just absolutely phenomenal. So.
Shout out to all the knuckleheads that are like, oh, the Packers, they don't have that good of receiver room. Those guys aren't proven.
Just let them keep talking. They're
really?
They're going to talk all summer. Just let them keep talking. The only time we're going to be able to make them be quiet is September 9th.
I know Bears fans' burner accounts when I see them.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, when they got a ridiculous post like that, just go right there to the reply and just put hashtag remember this tweet. Yep. And then all you got to do is search on Twitter, hashtag remember this tweet, and it'll pop up for you. And you got all the recibos. It's a lovely thing, I'm telling you. So, all right, we're out of here, guys. We're way over on time. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Good to see everyone back in the chat. Again, we cracked, I think, let's see here, 130, 180. We were close to 300 live tonight. YouTube was lit up. Rumble actually beating YouTube tonight. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Nice. So just really, really appreciate everybody, like I said, making us a part of your evening. Now, guys, listen, your mic's going to be hot when we end this thing. We're not going to do the outro, okay? Just going to show a screen grab so y'all ain't staring at the screen like this, right? So don't say anything inappropriate. We know how this works. Usually you guys are saying something inappropriate, and I never do, of course, as the outro's playing. So, again, thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. Tim, will you help me out with one soundbite?
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. I don't think we got canceled tonight. Y'all have a good evening. Go Pack, go.